It's the 11th day at sea. We've just done the midday log and we have less than 1,000 miles to go. 970 to be precise. Conditions are fantastic. It's all going well. Everything's good. Long may it continue. Here's the conditions, very nice. There's swells of maybe around 1.5 meters, something like that. Winds are around 15 to 20 knots. Sun's out. Moving on. We have unfortunately lost steerage again from the weed today, so we've had that to deal with, but we've got our action plan in place now, so it only takes us a couple of minutes and it's all good again. Well, it's been a hell of a day. We brought a spare wheel pilot with us, the mechanical part, and at about 3:30 this morning the electronic part went wrong and stopped working, so we had no self-steering whatsoever because we've had trouble with our Windvane as well, so that wasn't working, and then the electric one packed up. We put the emergency tiller on, which there is on the Bavaria, and I took the wheel off and I dismantled the brand new Autopilot to find there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. And then we discovered that where it had been going wrong, the batteries were completely flat as well on the boat. So we started the engine and we chugged along, and Alison did the whole fighting with the very short emergency tiller thing, whilst I tried to repair it. At that stage I had pretty much every tool out in the boat, and I'd had panels off and there was stuff everywhere and I was sliding about, and we couldn't fix it. I couldn't fix it because it's an electronic thing and that's beyond my skill set. I have no idea when it comes to electronics. So I did what any good sailor would do. I made myself a cup of coffee and I swore repeatedly and repeatedly, and I repeated myself in my swearing, and I ran out of swear words, which is probably a first for me. I used all my best ones, probably twice, and then cleared everything up and took a deep breath, and Alison and I had a little chat.
So the little chat involved what's going to happen next. Do we A, hand steer for the next 850 miles to an island in the Caribbean? Or do we have one last ditch attempt at trying to get the Windvane working? We didn't really know, because quite honestly we've spent days, hours, weeks, months trying to get the Windvane working and gave it up for a bad job. And we're going to just get rid of it and think of some other options when we got to the islands. But with the prospect of hand steering just the two of us for 7 days, 850 miles, that's if you can keep up a nice good 5 knots. It's quite daunting and quite exhausting and quite ooh. So we decided last ditch attempt at trying to get the Windvane sorted. So we fortified ourselves with 2 cups of tea each before we went for it. And as you can see, obviously not enough cups of tea because it's working!
So we're totally taking the win on that one. It's taken us from 3:30 this morning till about 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's taken us about 12 hours. in total to go through it all, and we've worked solidly for 12 hours, and now we're going to have a cup of tea. I have to say, we are very, very tired, so in my case the tea is going to be a coffee, and we're going to enjoy this beautiful sailing day out here in the Atlantic Ocean, because it's an absolute cracker of a day. Oh, and last night I saw a whale. It was really close. Came right by the boat. It was bigger than the boat. I don't know what sort of whale it was, so I'm going to look it up. But it hung around for about, oh, I don't know, best part of an hour I saw it. Alison was off watch. Wow, absolutely amazing. Swimming underneath the boat, swimming next to the boat, surfacing, obviously to breathe. Just absolutely mesmerising to see it.
Well, it's about 5 o'clock. I'm on watch. What can we say? That bad, I've even got my head thing on and it looks like it's inside out. What a situation, but there we go. We're ploughing through it. Sorry, I have to keep looking away because I'm just keeping an eye on the Windvane, which is being temperamental, but I'm desperately trying to give John some rest because he's been awake since midnight last night. Because he was on the 12 till 4 watch and woke me up at 3 saying it had all gone pear-shaped. Well, it's been a real difficult passage, highs and lows, steering problems, battery problems, Windvane problems, but hopefully we can just get west and then we can get them sorted out without having to do the hand steering all the time, because that will be exhausting, even more so than we are now. Not getting much sleep. The sleep we are getting is not restful, and then we're always being woken up by something, so we're a little tired, to say the least. We are managing to eat little bits and pieces. Quite often it's just a couple of mouthfuls before you go on watch, or as you come off watch, so that you're not hungry when you go to sleep. But yes, we are tired, as you can see from the video. It's not been quite what we've expected, but things never go according to plan. It would just be nice if the Windvane would not be such a pain in the neck. I suppose it's better than not having anything at all. And steer us nicely to somewhere, God, really dry, to somewhere west in the Caribbean, where we can take stock and see what we can do. Having said that, as you can see, it's a beautiful day. I think over there, according to the AIS, there's a cargo ship. I can't, oh yes I can. I can visually see him, and you can see on the chart plotter there. Oh. And he's, I don't know if you can see, he's up there. Not sure if you can see him on the camera, but basically he's starboard quarter. Gonna pass us quite happily. Come on, Windvane, don't be such a pain. Do what you're supposed to do. Stop going off course. Thank you. Anyway, enough ramble and waffle. We're just going to concentrate on trucking on. So a quick explanation as to what's wrong with our kit, shall we say. So it's this piece of equipment that's gone wrong. This is the Autopilot, auto helm, whatever you want to call it. We call it auto helm. And it's this piece of equipment and the electronics in here that has gone poof. The power we've checked is all in behind here. All the power for all of the equipment and everything is in behind here. We've had that apart. We've been in there. It's the hole inside. So that gives the power to the grey auto helm here, which is attached obviously to the wheel, and you can set it. But the problem is that there isn't any power. It's burnt out, it's overloaded itself, it's blown up, whatever the term is, don't know, don't care, it's just not working.
Well, it's 11 o'clock on day 14 and we have no battery power because our batteries have just completely died, our house batteries. We have no electronic autopilot still, and during yesterday our Windvane decided to play games with us and stopped working very effectively. So during the night, rather than investigate it during the night and hang over the back in the night, I waited till 9 o'clock or something, 10 o'clock, I don't know, started working on that and investigated it all, couldn't see anything wrong with it, and then realised that the vane that goes in the water, the rudder in the water, had been knocked out of position by the sargasso weed. So as we've hit the weed, instead of the blade being almost vertical in the water, it was knocked up to 45 degrees, which meant the Windvane wasn't steering the boat. So we've sorted that out now, and we are back under Windvane with about 650 miles to go. Keep at it, we'll get there. Something has gone wrong with it, and whilst we were merrily pootling through the night, as we've done on numerous occasions without an issue, suddenly everything stopped working. I checked the power and went down below, and something had gone wrong with it to cause it to drain the entire battery, and so that just basically killed the batteries. So we're going to have to buy new ones when we get there, and a new Autopilot and probably a new Windvane. But other than that, we're good. We're very tired today. We've hardly had any sleep, and we've been working on trying to solve these problems, it seems, for about about 1 million hours apparently. We've been working on it for days and nights, and not getting much sleep, and hand steering, limited food, limited showering, but we're out here so no one can smell us at the moment, and we are making our way still towards Martinique. We are going to get there. Well, here's an update. As you know, we've been having a lot of electrical issues on board, and we've lost power, and we've lost systems, and it's all been a bit of a nightmare. I was off watch today getting some rest. Alison came down and she could smell battery acid off gassing. So she woke me up and confirmed that it was the smell of battery acid, and I went to the battery compartment and the battery was red hot and spitting acid. So to avoid a fire, I disconnected it, and we're safe, and the air has cleared from the smell. You might be able to see behind me, there's tools out everywhere, boat's upside down, I've just spent the last hour and a half, at least maybe 2 hours, rejigging our battery configuration.
Yeah.
Working on the assumption that the engine battery wasn't connected to the house batteries and is still good, I've had to disconnect any non-essential systems from the boat, any non-essential boat systems, and just wire the essential systems into the engine start battery, because that's all we've got left. I've also connected the solar panel to it to keep it charging, but overnight we're going to be a dark boat. We'll be running no electronics at all, just the masthead light. That's it. Everything else will be switched off in the attempt to conserve our batteries. If the engine start battery looks like it's going flat, we're going to have to run it and start it up just to keep it topped up. It's only a 75 amp hour, but as we'll be running nothing, it should be good. There's nothing on at all in the boat. So that should be good for just overnight. We've got the Windvane steering the boat, and we're about 500 miles from Martinique. So we're taking it one day at a time and see how we get on.
Well, don't know what to say really. It's just one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time. John's done the reconfiguration, and we've also spent some time getting our grab bag ready and working through that scenario just in case the shit does hit the fan. But we're keeping everything crossed and taking it minute by minute, and we'll just keep heading towards the Caribbean. We've got about 512 miles to go to Martinique, but at this point in time any Caribbean island will do, thank you very much. We just want to get in somewhere and regroup and see what we can do. Meantime, I'm going to put the kettle on for a well-deserved cup of tea. If I can get there.
So there's the two remaining, these two are the two remaining house batteries that are no good, and everything's been rejigged, any essential systems rejigged into the engine start battery. That's all we can do. Well, good morning from Sailing Nova Vita. It is the 23rd of December. We're still making progress. We've had a interestingly breezy night. We've been tramping along at around 5 knots, 5.5 knots, with a triple reefed head sail only. Seas have been around, I don't know, 2.5, 3 meters with the occasional big one. It's been lumpy, I guess you could say, but we're still making progress. Fingers crossed everything's holding as it should be, and we are making progress. Tired, but it's all good, all good. This is what it looks like. You don't get much sense of the sea state. So there's one coming in now. It's about 2.5. Looks as flat as a pancake on video. Looks flat as I'm filming it. Doesn't it look lovely on camera? Hopefully the wind will do what it normally does, and the sea state will do what it normally does during the day, which is settle down, which will give us a bit of respite from being thrown around quite so violently. and Alison will get a good rest off watch. It's Christmas Eve on the 17th day of the passage. Last night was horrific. It was winds over 30 knots and squall and rain, and we had to have the boat closed up and we hunkered down below because the conditions were so bad. We took a big one over the back, filled up the cockpit, soaked Alison, but thankfully didn't go inside the boat. We're extremely tired. I'm pretty fed up with this. The conditions have just been, well, they've ranged from unpleasant to bloody awful over the last week, more. In fact, the whole passage has been pretty dire. It's been cloudy, it's been grey a lot of the time. The nights are horrible, pretty much without exception. The seas have got up. This morning we saw anything up to 5 meters when the sun came up. We could see them. Not so bad during the day. They're down to probably 3. Yeah, about 2.5 to 3 during the day, but generally pretty awful. Pretty awful. We've sailed thousands and thousands of miles up as far north as the Faroe Islands and around Shetland and Orkney and the west coast of Scotland. This passage has been, without a doubt, the worst. Awful. The sea state and the conditions on this passage have just been the worst. So, not been enjoyable. We tried to put a brave face on it, and as people do on camera, they tried to give the best impression. But I'll be honest with you, it's been absolutely bloody awful, this trip. It's been enjoyable for about 5% of it. It's been okay for 10%, and the rest of the time has been just dreadful. The most dreadful trip. Can't wait to get there. We've got about 300 and something miles to go, and because we're on the Windvane, we're having to go slowly so that the Windvane can cope with it. So with 3.5 days, 4 days left still. And that's the Christmas Eve update from Nova Vita.
This is the conditions on Christmas Eve. There's the wheel, and here's the binnacle. And I've literally got my hands and chest against the binnacle, so you can see how the wheel is working, moving from right to left. Still probably won't come out that well, but the swells and the waves are just knocking us from one side to another.